Alright guys, welcome back, and we're now going to be looking at factorizing a quadratic expression. Remember, we said that there are four types of factorization: simple factorization, factorization by grouping, and now we're going to be looking at factorizing a quadratic expression, which carries more marks than all of the others. Now, it's very important for you to know that the general form of a quadratic expression is ax squared plus bx plus c. And notice that there are 1, 2, 3 terms. So again, this here represents the general form of a quadratic expression, and you're going to see the significance of this when we start working the solutions to questions. So let's take a look at our first example. Now, here we are asked to factorize completely 2x squared plus 7x plus 3. Now again, we know it's a quadratic expression because the highest index of x is squared and there is no other index. So the highest, whenever you have an expression and the highest index of x is squared and there is nothing higher than that, and you have nothing below nothing in the negative region of an index, then you know it's going to be a quadratic expression. So you have x squared there, that's a clear indication and there is no power higher than x. That's a clear indication here it's a quadratic expression and there are no negative indices. So we know that's a quadratic expression. Now if you look here, this specific expression has this look where we have an x squared here and 7x and 3. The coefficient of x squared is a number in front of x squared, and that is 2. The coefficient of x is 7, and 3 is a constant value. So when we're asked to solve a quadratic expression, the first thing we want to know, is it in the form ax squared plus bx plus c? That's what we need to know. Is it in that form? And we have to make sure that it is in this form before we proceed. So the question is it in that form? And the answer to that is yes, because if you're able to correctly and accurately identify the values of a, b, and c, then you're good to go. So let's test this. The value of a is 2. Basically here, a is a number in front of x squared, and you can see that positive 2 is in front of x squared. And the value of b is 7. b is a coefficient of x, and positive 7 is in front of x there, and of course c is 3. Now, the reason why I've done that is because these values are going to come into play in the solution of this quadratic expression, all right? So again, the first thing we need to do is to check to see if the specific quadratic expression is in the general form, because we need to be able to correctly identify the values of a, b, and c, and we've done that. Now we need to proceed with the solution to the question. Now, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to focus on the value of b. In this case, b is 7. And also focus on the product of AC, which means a times c. And if you look closely, a times c, 2 times 3 is 6. So the product of AC, which means a times c, that will be in this particular case 2 times 3, which is 6. Now, the whole idea of factorizing quadratic expressions is to be able, the secret is to be able to break up this middle term into 2 pieces, so that instead of having 1, 2, 3 terms, we're going to have 4, and then we can factorize by grouping. So that's the trick now with quadratic expressions. All we need to do is to be able to break up this middle piece into 2 pieces and then have 4 terms that we can factorize by grouping. And that's the whole idea of whatever I'm doing here. It's a whole idea. So here's how we're going to use these 2 things now to try to figure out how to break it, because you can't just break it into any 2 numbers. What do I mean? You can't just say, okay, let's break it into 5x plus 2x, that gives me 7. Or 10x minus 3x, that also gives me 7. It has to be 2 specific terms that are going to be added together to give you 7x. And this is what we're going to do now to find that out. Now, the secret is here. So I'm just going to identify this part here. The secret is here. Now, what you're going to simply do is list the factors of 6. And the factors of 6 are 1, 2, 3, and 6. Now, those are the factors of 6. And the two numbers that you're looking for to be able to break this mega pieces must be in this list. So all you need to do is test it. Now, the trick sometimes is when you have negative signs in here, and then that comes into play down here. But in this particular case, all the terms are positive, which makes life very easy for us. So let's figure out now which of these two numbers now that when you add together, you're going to get 7, right? Which of these two numbers you add together, you're going to get 7, right? And when you multiply them, you get 6. And that's what we need to find out. So if you look carefully here, you'd realize that 1 plus 6 gives me 7, and 1 times 6 gives me 6. And that's the whole idea of doing this part here. All right. Now that will allow us to determine how to break this middle piece here. So we can proceed with the solution to that part. So I'm going to put this over here so we can see what is happening and continue with the solution to the question. So remember, all of this was about trying to figure out how to break up this middle term into 2 terms so we can end up with 4 terms so we can factorize by grouping. So since we know how to break this up now with 1 and 6 now, obviously we're not going to put 1 and 6, we're going to put 1x plus 6x or 6x plus 1x. It doesn't matter which way you go, you're going to end up with the correct answer anyway. So let's look at this. 2x squared plus 7x plus 3. Now we're going to break up the middle piece now into the 2 terms because right now we have 3 terms and we're going to get 4 and then we can factorize by grouping, which we have done already. So we're going to have 2x squared here and we have 1x plus 6x, and that's the whole idea of the 1 and the 6, right? And then we're going to put back the plus 3. And all we're going to do here now to finish the solution to this problem is to factorize by grouping. So we're going to look at the first 2 terms and ask ourselves what is common in the first 2 terms, and clearly that is x. So we're going to factor out the x here, and in the bracket we're going to have 2x, because x times 2x is 2x squared, and x times 1 is going to give me back 1x. All right, so I factorize the first 2. Now, next thing we need to do is look at the back 2 to determine what's common, and please remember the sign. So what would be common in those 2 terms would be positive 3, and in the bracket 3 times 2x is going to give me back positive 6x, and 3 times positive 1 is going to give me positive 3. And before I proceed, I'm just going to check to make sure I'm on the right track. How do I know I'm on the right track? When I have the exact same thing in the brackets. That's how I know that I'm on the right track. So the final answer would then be x plus 3 in one bracket, and in the other bracket 2x plus 1. Now this will be the final answer when we factorize this quadratic expression here. And if you want to check in your head if it's correct, x times 2x gives me back 2x squared, x times 1 is 1x, plus 3 times 2x is 6x, that is going to give me back the 7x, and 3 times 1 is 3, gives me back the original expression. So this is how you go about factorizing quadratic expressions. And we're going to come back with example 2 in a little bit. So I hope you guys found this video insightful, and I'll see you guys on the next video.